Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Melanie, your She Shed Scrapper. So today I am back with a 2-page layout using a couple of different collections. Primarily though, I will be using the older Let's Go on an Adventure collection from Bella Blvd. I kind of just have like an outdoor paper envelope, a paper envelope full of like outdoor papers. And so with this specific layout, I knew that I was going to be using, I don't know if packaging is the right word, but the photos I'm documenting are from Goats on the Roof in the Gatlinburg area. And we had bought the souvenir photo from the like coaster going down the mountain, and the packaging that it came in is red and it has the name on it. And so I thought I would incorporate that into the layout, kind of as my title. And so, like I said, that's red. And so I kind of went into that kind of outdoors envelope and found this red paper on the outside. And I cut it so that it borders 3 of the 4 sides on each side. So I went in 1 inch on 3 of the sides. And then when I cut my white paper, I had to think of if that made sense. When I cut my white paper, I cut 1 inch off one side and then 1/2 inch off another side. Just so that, the border was even all the way around. I have done it before where I've cut 1 inch off the 2 of the sides and it just is not even all the way around. So this layout is going to have quite a few photos. And like I said, I'm going to end up using, I don't know what to call it, the packaging from that photo that we bought. So here it is. No more trying to explain it. Here it is. But I wanted to trim it down just a little bit. So I just thought this would be great for the title. I wouldn't really have to think of adding much else for the title. But again, just wanted to trim it down a little bit, and then rearrange my photos kind of around it. And then page 2 is kind of going to be a little bit of a grid layout. I wanted to kind of get my photos in place before I figured out what other pattern papers I would add. I don't do this often, really. A lot of times I kind of have an idea of what my background papers are going to be like on my layout. But this one here, I just knew a lot of the layout was going to be covered up with the photos. And so I waited to really figure out where the open spaces were and what would work for, the papers. I did end up adding a cut apart on the bottom right for some journaling, just to kind of, remember everything that we did on this specific trip and it Goats on the Roof. So I did end up grabbing this kind of wood paper that is from a Simple Stories collection, and now I can't think of what it's called. It was quite an older collection and I have so much of it. So I decided to kind of put those on the outsides, and then I still wanted to incorporate another pattern paper, and so I ended up grabbing this tree paper. I wanted to bring in some green because that cut apart was green as well. So I needed to kind of incorporate all of the different colors. So what I'm going to end up doing is adding that green tree paper across the bottom so that those landscape photos kind of have something that they're sitting on, I guess. And I was really hoping that I could use one strip for the entire layout, but I ended up having, it was like 6.5 inches I needed to cut it so that it went all the way to the edge of the paper. So unfortunately I had to cut up more of the paper, which not a big deal. I think I have 1, maybe 2 more of these papers and I've been hoarding them, so not a big deal. But I do like to try to get the most out of my paper. So now I have kind of almost 2 squares left over of that tree paper. So once I get this lined up, I really am just going to kind of matte some of the photos, not all of them. I decided to keep the 2 photos at the top, just down right on the page. I did try to kind of line up that top of the goats on the roof, that red, with the top of the photos on the right side. And then I tried to also line up that picture that I'm matting right there with the like 4x4 photo on page 1. So page 1 is kind of like a cluster sort of a layout, and page 2 is more of a grid, but I did try to kind of keep the lines similar at the top and the bottom. So like I said, I taped those 2 photos right down on the page, and then this one here, I was going to leave a gap in between the top photos and that bottom one, but then I guess I didn't cut the tree paper wide enough, and I wanted to make sure that tree paper kind of snuck out the bottom of that photo as well. So I did kind of overlap that that yellow photo, I'll just call it the yellow photo, with the 2 top photos, and then lined up the journaling card kind of right next to that. And so here's where I'm kind of trying to make sure that those are lined up together or across the top there. And then I do the same thing with the bottom photo here. I actually get my T-square out and try to keep, you know, those layouts lined up. And then that kind of gives me an idea of where the bottom edge should be on that 4x4 photo. I did want the photo that I bought to kind of stand out a little bit more. And so I am going to matte that with the white. And I just did this layout and I can't even remember if I matted again. Oh my goodness. Life is life is rough sometimes. My memory can't keep up. So I guess I just leave it with white, but I am going to pop it up on some foam tape. So it does stand out a little bit more. Most of the embellishments I am going to use are from that Let's Go on an Adventure collection from Bella Blvd. I had kind of already gone through the ephemera pack and picked out some of the pieces that really went with this layout and the color schemes. So you can see I have that tray that I had bought from Scrapbook.com sitting just outside the camera view, but all of the ephemera I had picked out were sitting up there. So these here are, you know, different sayings and not all the same. However, I thought if I kind of split them up, they would work just fine to the right of that. It doesn't fill in the space completely, and I wish that there was something maybe larger up there. But with so many photos and so much going on, I think just having that little open space is probably for the best. I did grab a couple of different flares from Scrap and Happy Studio, different packages, and found that I liked the one I'm using now a lot better than the stars. I have some hearts I'm including in the layout, and I think if those would have been hearts, I would have included those. But I didn't really want to add in stars when the majority of the other little embellishments are hearts, if that makes sense. So I did add one of the flares to the bottom right and kind of another one to the middle of the layout, the page 1 layout. I have this chipboard left and really wanted to try and use up some of it, but I didn't really want to incorporate flowers, and that was the majority of what I had left over. I did, however, have kind of a greenery piece, and I thought that would be a great layering piece behind kind of this larger ephemera about the mountains there. And so that's kind of going to finish off that cluster. And for the most part, the embellishments are just about done. Like I said, I had some more hearts, some more little pieces that I thought about adding in, but didn't really love those. So you can see I kind of have just the 4 clusters, 2 on page 1 and 2 on page, well, I guess I have 3 on page 2. But then a couple of the clusters only had 2 elements, and I like having that third element. And so I went into my stash and found these hearts from Bella Blvd and added a couple of black hearts to finish off the clusters that only had the 2 pieces. But once that is done, that's going to kind of finish off this layout. Definitely a more busy layout, but I'm glad, one, that I used up my stash, and two, that I used kind of the packaging from the photo in this layout as well. So there's a really good close-up of that flare from Scrap and Happy Studio. I used both canvas flares. She also has epoxy flares. But the nice thing with the canvas is there's no glare. So I don't think any of the papers I used are still available, but I will link Scrap and Happy Studio down below for you if you are interested. She's got so many awesome flares in her shop. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.